Good morning, church. It's July the 27th, and we're in Hebrews 11, verses 15 through 19. If they had been thinking of that land from which they had gone out, they would have opportunity to return. But as it is, they desire a better country, that is, a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared for them a city. By faith, Abraham, when he was tested, offered up Isaac, and he who had received the promises was in the act of offering up his only son, of whom it was said, "Through Isaac shall your offspring be named." He considered that God was able even to raise him from the dead, from which, figuratively speaking, he did receive him back. To give some context here, we're in the great Hall of Fame of Faith chapter, and the writer is getting into the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. And they were promised, if we go back to Genesis 12, when God called Abraham, he promised him to make him a great nation, to give him a land, and through him, all families would be blessed, which we know was fulfilled when Abraham gave birth to Isaac, and Isaac gave birth to Jacob. Jacob gave birth to Judah, and through the line of Judah, we have God's one and only Son, Jesus Christ. Interesting here, we have this foreshadow, this picture of what God was going to do as Abraham offered up his only son, Isaac. So we point forward to what Christ would do on the cross, what God would have his redemptive plan for us. We have this idea of land. They had been thinking of that land from which they had gone out. They were heavenly focused. They were focused on the promises of God. They were focused on his purpose. Interestingly enough, the patriarchs, none of which ever saw God's promises fully fulfilled. When Abraham died, he really didn't have land to claim for his own. He was wandering around in tents. When God promised him a son, he and Sarah had to wait 25 years to see that promise fulfilled. One of the hardest things for us as Christians to do is wait. We see here, why on earth would God call Abraham to offer up his son? Well, we see a principle here. The more we walk with God, the more difficult the tests of our faith are. And we know that this produces perseverance. My wife and I personally have been going through a lot of trials. And while it is difficult to wait for things to happen, I can see God developing a greater perseverance in our lives. The writer is also giving us this notion of faith works. We see these Abraham growing in his faith. We see God fulfilling promises, And we see that God always does fulfill his promises, maybe not in our lifetime, but ultimately, in light of all eternity, he fulfills his promises. And that should give us all great encouragement. We're all going through different trials of different kinds, and there's a lot of waiting involved, and there's some suffering involved. But know this, God is faithful, and he is more than able to accomplish what he sets out to do. Thank you. God bless you. Have a great day.